Hello everybody, welcome back to La Fidanza d'Italia podcast. Vince here, and today we've got a packed episode with some of the latest transfer news regarding Juventus, some preseason updates, and behind the scenes training buzz. So stay tuned and we'll get right into it. Now, before we dive into the transfer news, I saw a graphic earlier this week that kind of really put into perspective as to just how much depth Juventus does have and how many mediocre players at that. So, Juventus can field currently, with the amount of players that they have on their roster and available to them right now, 3 full teams. And to be honest, if I'm being honest, they're not bad players. They're decent players mixed with some youth. But let me walk you through these 3 teams really quick, starting with the weakest team to the strongest 11. And this is not my ranking. This is just the graphic I saw. So the weakest team, team 3, we had Pinzolio in goal, Thiago Jalot, Facundo, and Gil Puce as the back 3. Savona as the right fullback, Rui as the left fullback, Artur and Miretti as the center midfielders. Pietrelli, Adzic, and Milik are the front 3. So the only player that I would really keep out of this team, actually there's 3 players I think, would be Nicola Savona, obviously, Miretti, and I would honestly give Thiago Jalot a chance into our system. We'll touch on that later. Second team, you have Mattia Perin in goal, Rugani, Kelly, and Cabal are the back 3. Tim Weah as the right fullback, Kostic as the left fullback, Douglas Luiz and McKennie as the center midfielders. Nico Gonzalez and Koopmeiners play behind Dusan Vlahovic. Not a bad team, not a bad second team. The first team, according to this graphic, you have Di Gregorio, Gatti, Bremer, and Kalulu in the back 3. João Mario as the right fullback, Cambiaso as the left fullback, Locatelli and Thuram as the center midfielders. Conceição and Yildiz play behind Jonathan David. Pretty solid team, pretty solid players, but we'll touch on this more as we get. I just wanted to share that graphic with you all. Okay, so the first thing we got to touch on in these transfer news is Kolo Muani. And based on verified reports from Gazzetta and Fabrizio Romano, Kolo Muani has made it clear that he prioritizes a return to Juventus after his successful loan spell, where he scored 10 goals in 22 games. So talks are currently progressing with PSG on a 45 million euro loan to buy deal, with Juventus agreeing to an obligation clause. This is according to reports from Fabrizio Romano and Gazzetta. While there is lingering interest from other clubs in the Premier League like Manchester United, Tottenham, and so forth, their momentum suggests that this transfer is very likely given everything that's going on. And but again, with Juventus' pursuit of Kolo Muani ongoing, there's numerous reports that are saying that the club is leaning towards finalizing this transfer regardless of what happens with Dusan Vlahovic's future, because that has been a talking point. Are we able to sign Kolo Muani if Dusan Vlahovic doesn't leave? So the latest reports suggest that we can, regardless of what Dusan Vlahovic's future holds. So let's move on from Kolo Muani. We're going to touch on a new player that has come across the headlines for Juventus, and that is Josh Doig. So Juventus is reportedly targeting Josh Doig, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's a 23-year-old left back who currently plays for Sassuolo. Now, Sassuolo just got promoted, but if he signed, he would become only the second Scottish player, to play in our colours in the club history. So that would be something cool, I guess. But he's a youth player. I haven't seen too much about him, so I'm not really sure how I feel. But I mean, it is promising because it is a youth player. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's move on to a juicy gossip story in this transfer market, with the name of this transfer rumor being Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho, now, he, for the whole summer, I feel like, has basically reportedly agreed to personal terms with Juventus, and there's talks about it being like a 4-year deal worth over 5 million per year, plus up to like 1.5 million euros in add-ons. So in total, he would get like what he was asking for originally anyway, which was around the 6.5 million euro. Negotiations with Manchester United for a transfer fee. Are suggesting, according to reports, that it may end up around the 25 million euro mark, including add-ons. But those talks are still ongoing apparently. But however, I will say that Juventus sporting director was asked about Sancho, and he basically said, "We have two of the best wingers in the world." When he was referring to Yildiz and Conceição, and he said, "Plus we have Nico Gonzalez, who's an excellent player." He said, "If somebody were to leave, we would be ready on the market." So this is basically telling me that we're not really going to move for Jadon Sancho unless somebody leaves. I mean, I mentioned it before. I touched on this with the Juventus being able to field those three squads. It is a really full roster right now, so we do need to move players. So I honestly, I don't know how we sign more players without offloading players first. I mean, we still have so many players' future to work out. So I honestly don't think we're gonna land Sancho anytime soon, to be honest. Moving on from Jadon Sancho, let's talk about Weston McKennie, another player for another summer, mind you, that he has been linked with an exit. I mean, again, McKennie this season's been so influential on the pitch, but the talks about a contract extension, which were supposed to be pretty much secured towards the end of the season, they have yet to agree now, and apparently there's like a halt on the contract extension deal because of commission fees or something. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. But to avoid losing him on a free transfer, Juventus is actually like reportedly exploring a potential swap deal with Roma. That was like some reports I saw the other day, and this was involving their midfielder Brian Cristante. Now, Roma, however, would reportedly prefer to involve Pellegrini in the negotiation. Now, if I'm being honest, I would rather keep McKennie over both those players, but at all costs, I would never get Brian Cristante to put on the black and white colors. I mean, he's not a good player, I don't think, and I think that would be a really bad move on our part. So, honestly, for Pellegrini, I don't know how I feel, maybe, but I mean, Wes has been he's been so versatile, and he's been so good for us like year after year, and even after like with all the speculation every summer since he's been with us, like basically saying that he's going to leave. So I mean, and he's not in the plans. So I mean, like, I really don't think any of these two players is worth a swap deal for Weston McKennie. If they were trying to swap with Roma, and really Roma was really interested in Weston McKennie, I think they have to negotiate for a different player. I mean, I think you gotta, it's not gonna happen, but I think you gotta try to maybe pursue Paulo Dybala if you really are considering a swap deal, or maybe you discuss maybe bringing in someone like El Shaarawy. I do think he can offer more than any of those two, but anyway, let's move on from Wes. We'll talk about Dusan Vlahovic. I touched on him a little bit earlier, saying that like we are not basically. Our transfer for Randal Kolo Muani basically isn't hindering on a sale from Dusan Vlahovic. So, but I want to just explain a little bit more news that has emerged on social media regarding Dusan Vlahovic. So apparently Juventus have entered in direct talks with AC Milan regarding Vlahovic. Apparently Vlahovic reportedly wants to move to the Rossoneri, and a deal starting around 15 million euros is apparently being discussed. Comoli weighed in on the situation, basically saying that that Juventus have agreed with Dusan on his exit this summer if they get a good proposal. Now, Vlahovic can only leave with a good bid, and so far, Juventus have not received that. So, it's good news in the sense that there's an agreement between the club and Dusan Vlahovic that if a good offer comes, Vlahovic is going to leave. So, there was a lot of debate and a lot of drama around this earlier in the past few weeks, in the past month, because Vlahovic was being painted to be this bad guy for Juventus. Like he wasn't gonna leave and he was gonna ride out his contract and leave on a free transfer. But Comoli has squashed all that with this statement, basically, and saying that there is an agreement that he can leave as long as a good bid comes in. So we'll see what happens with that. We're going to keep an eye on that. Now, if he were to leave, we would need a striker, clearly, like emergency striker, because only Jonathan David as a striker is not good enough going into a season where we're going to be playing in the Champions League, the Coppa Italia, and obviously competing for the Serie A title. So you need at least 2 strikers, and this is where another name has been thrown into the mix, and that is Darwin Nunez. Now, there have been rumors that Darwin Nunez is a backup option if Juventus cannot land Randal Kolo Muani. To be honest, I really, really hope we stay away from Darwin Nunez, especially at the price that Liverpool wants. I mean, the prices I'm seeing is like 60 to 65 million euros. You know, I watched a highlight the other day from Liverpool's game where he basically pulled a Vlahovic this season, and he pretty much like shanked the ball, and he missed a good opportunity. And like one opportunity where he should have worked the goalkeeper, literally just like totally mishit it, went off target, like wide, and it wasn't even a good shot. It was like on the ground. So I mean, and he just looked defeated, like when they zoomed in on him with the camera. So I mean, like another player basically probably playing with very little confidence, or honestly, I just don't think he's that good for that price. So I have to say, hard pass on him. Now let's move on from him. We're going to talk about Tim Weah. All right, this has been the center of attention basically in the Juventus market because Weah has been reportedly supposed to be leaving now for a couple weeks. Like that's been pretty obvious. You know, Fabrizio Romano came out, reported that Marseille is interested in him. There was agreements and all that, you know, but Comoli did comment on this Weah exit, potential Weah exit anyway, and this is what he said. He said, Tim Weah wants to join Olympique Marseille, but we need to receive a good, correct proposal. That kind of proposal from Olympique Marseille is not on the table yet at this stage. So I just want to point out that a reported 13 million euro offer was put out for Juventus, to Juventus for Tim Weah. And apparently Comoli declined that offer. And this has basically like pissed Marseille off because essentially Juve accepted an offer about a month ago from Forest for far less. That's their argument for him and another player. I can't think of his name right now. But it's for 2 of them to leave. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So then Weah's agent after this whole thing happened, released a statement of frustration amid like the sprawling transfer talks, basically saying like, you know, and I think this is where it kind of gets muddy and like agents need to say far less. But anyway, this is what his agent said. Juve is a fantastic club. The sporting department is managed by 3 people. 2 have class and another is still searching for himself. We cannot blame him. 2 are looking for solutions and 1 is creating problems. And we can't let that go. Tim Weah is always professional and was left out during the Club World Cup. This person botched Weah's Club World Cup, tried to force him to go where he wanted to go. Today, as revenge, he's demanding a fortune and waiting for a Premier League club to offer something that won't come and will never be approved by us. These are old-fashioned methods that won't sit well with me. I'm not used to speaking out, but not doing so today would be accepting the unacceptable and total disrespect. Class can't be bought for a manager, that's for sure, but it has always been part of the history of Juventus. One person is undermining that. Let's see. Now, that was a pretty strong statement from Tim Weah's agent. Now it's hard to he didn't mention any names, but I mean, there's a lot of speculation. He's talking about Comoli, but then towards the end, he said, class can't be bought for a manager. I'm speculating that he might also be talking about Tudor, since Tudor is the person who chooses the lineups. I mean, we'll see what happens with the situation as it unfolds, but this could be an issue with Weah and Juventus' relationship. Moving on, let's talk about Douglas Luiz. Now, Douglas Luiz missed last week's first week of camp. Now he has returned this week, and Comoli had some choice words for him. Basically, Comoli was quoted saying that Douglas Luiz disrespected his teammates and the whole group, and he apologized right after. Now, after a disappointing season at Juventus, Douglas Luiz skipping preseason training, to me, it seems like he's trying to send a message and kind of like force a move away, probably back to the Premier League where he's had a lot of success. His whole career basically fell apart when he moved to Juventus last season. So, and I don't think it was his fault. I think it was a lot of the management's fault. He wasn't given a proper chance, and I don't think he's going to be given a chance to prove himself. Even though I think he's our most creative midfielder, I've been saying that as of right now. So, he's going to go. It's a waste. He's going to leave as like one of the worst signings in our history when I think we should really just give him a shot. But I don't know. Anyway, going back to him skipping. This was deemed, very disrespectful to his teammates by Comoli, as I said before. And again, Luiz apologized afterwards immediately, basically. And despite this, again, I just can't see a situation where Douglas Luiz stays. Now, another player that Juventus has been linked with, and this is a newer player, is Matt O'Reilly. So Juventus is the latest Serie A side, basically, to show interest in the player who plays for Brighton. And Matt O'Reilly's a midfielder. So he basically plays in center mid. And according to Sky Sport Italia, transfer expert Gianluca Di Marzio, he has claimed that Juventus is keeping a close eye on this situation. Now, there is no proposal on the table yet from Juventus. At least I haven't seen any reports suggesting that there is. But, the 24-year-old midfielder, he's basically on the radar for Juventus. This is clear. I've seen a bunch of sources from social media basically saying the same thing. So but again, he completed this move to Brighton for 29.5 million euro back in August of 2024. And, I don't... For around that price tag, I don't know how he's gonna be, what kind of player he's gonna be, but I'm assuming they're gonna demand a similar figure. And but last season I think from what I found, statistic wise, he only scored 2 goals. He contributed 2 goals and had 3 assists in 21 Premier League appearances. So it's nothing to write home about. But again, he is a midfielder, so it's not too bad considering he only played 21 games. So he was involved in 5 goals basically. And Brighton, let's be honest, is not one of the stronger teams in the Premier League. So maybe with a better group of players around him, he could perform better, put up some better numbers. He is young, so that is the bright side here. At least they're not looking for veteran players, so they are looking for some youth players. But let's move on, and let's talk about the center back reinforcements. And again, there has been nothing happening on this front. I've touched on how we need center backs. That's basically the most important position I feel that we need. And there haven't been any rumors lately. I haven't read any rumors about center backs. However, I will say that there have been reports that Renato Vega's move to Atletico Madrid have stalled. So in this case, I think it would be maybe smart to try to make a move for him. Last season he was really happy at Juve. He grew to love the club. He ended up playing. I thought he played really well while he started playing. He's only 20 years old. He's a 6'3", like very strong built, solid talent. So I would try to. I know Chelsea want a lot for him. So basically, what I would try to do if I were Comoli and Juventus, I would try to tempt Chelsea, maybe offer them like a 10, 15 million loan deal initially, and put an obligation to buy for 30. They want. They want 40 million for him, so you give the 10, 15, or even 10 million up front, 30 as an obligation. So you could do that, and if you hit your goals this season, you'll have the money to do it for the next summer. So, and keep him. And again, he's only 20 years old, so the sky's the limit for this kid. I think he played really well. Again, he was really solid, and I think if we were to sign him, I think a healthy Bremer, Gatti or Kalulu, and then Renato Vega, I think that's a very capable back three and two-door system to compete for the Serie A title. Okay, let's get into some team updates. All right, so tomorrow morning, which is Saturday, August 2nd, there is a friendly match scheduled. The Bianconeri will face Reggiana at 5 a.m. At their training center. So this match is going to be the first summer friendly after the Club World Cup, basically for the new season. It's going to be played behind closed doors, apparently, without fans or media. But, there will be broadcast live. And if you're in the States, you can watch it on DAZN, apparently, and on Juventus.com if you're abroad. So, following a rest day, Igor Tudor's squad has returned to work with a double training session and leading up to this game. So, this week at training was pretty cool. So if you have a chance, if you want to go to Juventus's YouTube page, they do have some pretty cool 6-minute clips of some shots at training and what's happening and everything. And there was one video where we had some guests at the training ground, which was pretty cool. Juve had some notable guests at that, and basically the team welcomed former Juventus player Quado Asamoah, who visited the squad at the training center. And on Sunday, July 27th, at the training center, they were also visited by the new Italy national team's coach, Gennaro Gattuso. And he watched the whole afternoon session. He wasn't alone. The other people that were present in the Azzurri's head of delegation basically was Gianluigi Buffon, Luigi Riccio, and Leonardo Bonucci were also present. And, this was the ideal opportunity for a discussion with Juventus coach Igor Tudor and the club's director of football strategy, who is Giorgio Chiellini right now, and the Bianconeri's technical director, Francois Modesto. Okay, so they in the video you can see them all talking, and you can see Gattuso with some of the relationships that he has with some of the Italian players on Juventus. So it was pretty cool to see. Gattuso seems to have a really good relationship with Cambiaso and Locatelli, so I could definitely see both of them being called up to the national team. And then I also saw Buffon was watching the goalkeeper training, and he had his eyes on Di Gregorio. And this is another player I think who could potentially get a call up after his recent performances in the black and white shirt. He's been playing really well. Like I said on a few episodes ago, he's won me over. I really think he's a good goalkeeper. And he'd most likely, obviously not start. Donnarumma's clearly going to start, so he would likely be a second or third choice on the national team. Now, we had some press conferences, and one of them, an update, basically Jonathan David was at a press conference, and he said all the right things while I was listening to it. He mentioned, how the club has big ambitions, and they match his ambitions and all that stuff. And then what we did also get was what jersey number he was going to wear this season, and he was presented with the number 30 jersey. And basically he said he chose the number 30 because it's the day of his father's birthday. So a lot of fans were also coming out after that saying, 30 is a representation of maybe a goal that he has in mind. He wants to score at least 30 goals this season. So, hey, if that's true and that's what he's thinking, that's ambitious, and I like it. We haven't had a 30-goal striker in quite some time. No one as prolific as Higuain. So, it would be something to special to see that happen again. So, but I'm excited what's to come from this season. I really am. Again, he's saying all the right stuff. The more I hear from him, the more I watch him, even in the training, from the training ground, I'm excited. Next thing that happened, which was pretty cool, it happened on July 31st, which was yesterday, and basically Juventus held a meet and greet. So basically they do this throughout the season, and so you get some fans who are able to meet the players and everything. So in this meet and greet, fans met new signings in Jonathan David, João Mario, Conceição, and they were at the Juventus store at the Allianz Stadium, with the young players. With the players signing autographs for the young kids and everything, and taking selfies with the Juventus kids and the junior members and the young members. So it was really cool to see that as well, and I think this is something special that they do. It's good to have a sense of relationship in the community. So I love to see that. Okay, well, that wraps it up for today's episode. Whether you're hyped about Kolo Muani's return, potential return, frustrated with the Tim Weah situation, or, dreaming of a Vega-led backline like me, one thing's clear: it is never boring. At Juventus, there's always something to talk about. Make sure you follow the show if you don't already, so you don't miss any future episodes. Transfer updates and preseason coverage. We're gonna get into the games, so the games that are coming up. So this is great. I'm looking forward to breaking these down and seeing how Juventus plays and everything. So stay tuned for that. And if you like what you heard, just share it with another fellow Juventino. But until next time, Fino Alla Fine, Forza Juve.